Okay, so have you ever really stopped to think about what powers our world? I'm not talking about the electrical grid or anything like that, but the actual fundamental engine of life itself. Well, let's get into it. Because the answer is this incredible process that's happening all around us right now in every single green leaf and blade of grass. It's called photosynthesis. At its core, it's a beautifully simple idea. The energy for pretty much every living cell on this entire planet comes from the sun. But that energy has to be captured, right? It has to be converted into a usable fuel for life. And that's what this one single, absolutely incredible process does.
Just let that sink in for a minute. Every single breath you take, the oxygen in that breath, it connects you directly to this ancient, elegant biochemical marvel. So you see, this isn't just some abstract thing that happens in plants. It's about the very air that keeps us alive.
So how does this green engine actually work? Well, it all starts with the first, most crucial step, capturing that raw energy that's streaming down from the sun and turning it into something that living things can actually use as fuel.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to zoom in. I mean, way, way in. So come on, we're going to take a little journey deep inside a plant's leaf, down to the microscopic factory floor where all the action happens.
So here's where we start. A simple, ordinary green leaf. It might not look like much, but it's basically a perfectly designed solar collector. This is ground zero, the primary site where the magic of photosynthesis really begins.
Now, if we could peel back the surface, this is what we'd see. Layers and layers of these things called mesophyll cells. This tissue is just jam-packed with all the machinery needed to get the job done. You can really think of this as the main factory floor.
Okay, let's go even deeper. Let's isolate just one of those cells. It's a super complex and busy place, right? A totally self-contained little unit of life, with all these different parts working together in perfect harmony.
And this brings us to the absolute heart of the matter. See that tiny green dot inside the cell? That is the chloroplast. This tiny little organelle is the true powerhouse. It's the specific microscopic room where sunlight is turned into life-sustaining energy. So what's the secret sauce inside that chloroplast? How in the world does it actually eat sunlight? Well, it all comes down to one truly remarkable molecule, a special pigment that just so happens to be what gives plants their signature color.
And here it is, chlorophyll. Now, we all know this is the pigment that makes plants green. But its color is really just a side effect of its main job. Its real purpose is to absorb the energy from photons of sunlight, which is the kickstarter for the entire process. And this chart really shows us why plants are green. It's pretty cool. See, chlorophyll is a rock star at absorbing light in the blue and red parts of the spectrum. But the green light, it's not so good at absorbing that. So what does it do? It reflects it instead. And that reflected green light is exactly what our eyes see.
But here's the thing, chlorophyll doesn't work alone. It's actually part of a whole team of pigments. Chlorophyll A is the star player, no doubt. It does the heavy lifting of converting light into chemical energy. But it's got helpers, like chlorophyll B, and these other guys called carotenoids. They act as accessory pigments, capturing light at different wavelengths that chlorophyll A might miss, which makes the whole operation way more efficient.
Okay, so the process itself basically happens in two main stages. First up, you have the light-dependent reactions. This is where sunlight provides the raw energy to literally split water molecules apart. This is what releases the oxygen we breathe and, this is key, it charges up these two special energy-carrying molecules, ATP and NADPH. Think of them like tiny, rechargeable cellular batteries. Their only job is to store that solar energy for a little bit. Then, in stage 2, called the Calvin cycle, those fully charged batteries provide all the power needed to grab carbon dioxide from the air and turn it into glucose. That's a sugar that the plant can use as food.
But, not all plants do this in the exact same way. Over millions of years, evolution has come up with some pretty clever workarounds and upgrades, especially for plants that have to live in really tough, hot climates. Let's check out how this evolved. So here's the catch. There's this absolutely crucial enzyme that's responsible for grabbing CO2 out of the air. It's called rubisco. And, well, it has a bit of a flaw. Its job is to grab carbon dioxide, but about 20% of the time it messes up and accidentally grabs an oxygen molecule instead. And when that happens, it kicks off this really wasteful process called photorespiration, which just burns up the plant's precious energy for no reason.
And this is how nature solved that problem. It's brilliant. See, most plants, like rice and soybeans, they use the original C3 pathway. That's where Rubisco is just kind of out in the open, making it easy to make that oxygen mistake. But in hot, dry places, plants like maize and sugarcane evolved a whole new system, the C4 pathway. They use a totally different enzyme and a special leaf structure to basically pump a super concentrated dose of CO2 directly to Rubisco. This strategy almost completely gets rid of that wasteful photorespiration. And this matters a ton for us. It's why C4 crops like corn can thrive in the heat, where C3 crops like wheat really struggle. In fact, one of the holy grails in plant science today is trying to figure out how to give rice this C4 upgrade. It could literally revolutionize food production for a warming world.
All right, now that we've seen all the tiny mechanics, let's pull the camera all the way back out. I mean, all the way. Let's look at what this tiny little molecular process means for our entire planet. Because photosynthesis isn't just about a plant making itself a meal. It is a fundamental cornerstone of the global carbon cycle. It is the primary way our planet takes carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and locks it away into living things, into the biosphere.
And these right here are the planet's major carbon sinks, all of them powered by photosynthesis. You've got the huge ones we always think about, like forests and grasslands. But just as important, if not more so, are the microscopic phytoplankton in the ocean. These little guys absorb absolutely enormous amounts of CO2, pulling it down into the deep sea when they die. So when you step back and put it all together, the impact is just staggering. Photosynthesis forms the base of pretty much every food chain on Earth. It produces the oxygen that makes complex life like us even possible. It acts as a gigantic carbon sink, pulling CO2 out of the air. And by doing all that, it helps regulate our entire planet's climate. It is, without a doubt, our planetary life support system.
This amazing process has been tweaked and perfected by nature over billions of years. But as we find ourselves facing huge challenges like climate change, it leaves us with a really important question. Can we take what we've learned from nature's green engine and maybe, just maybe, learn how to make it even better?